And I'm your host, David Gronowski. Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice, the most electrifying show in media for a reason, because we challenge toxic groupthink like nobody else does. We're running circles around the old dinosaur media. They don't have solutions. All they have is blame games. They blame, and try to drive you to fear. Fear is all they have to offer you. Fear. Be scared. You can't trust your immune system. You can't trust your common sense. You can't trust the nuclear family to build a good society. We have to do something else for you. We always have to push you with what? Fear. That's all the media pushes us towards. Oh, a dark winter. Where'd you get that from, genius? Biden didn't come up with poetic language like that. Biden would have to plagiarize that from Robert Frost or something, a dark winter's day. That's where, Biden would take that and say that's his words. He doesn't come up with words like a dark winter approaches. These little PR Muppets like Biden, they come up with these words because what do they call those things? Focus groups. I mean, so far away from my wheelhouse to have to refer to a focus group to find information. We're challenging toxic groupthink. We're not begging groupthink to tell us what to think. But see, the Biden focus groups, they said, it's really good in our Madison Avenue, highly professional, billion-dollar marketing advertising data that we should have words like dark winter. Dark winter will scare people. Use the word dark winter. And the little lemming does, because that's what a little lemming like Biden does. Has no guts, has no courage. He'll sell out his country for an Egg McMuffin and a senior Diet Coke. That's what this guy is, a very cheap, low-rent Muppet. And the media loves someone like that. That's the perfect candidate for a media that has sold out itself like a little Muppet to high, powerful corporate interests. And so the rest of us, that is those who don't want war and mass incarceration and regulations that cripple every kind of business idea that we have, the rest of us have to put together a roadmap for success in the midst of these losers who can only think up stuff like, let's use the word dark winter. Let's sell fear. Fear is what they have to offer. They want you scared. That's what they do whenever they get you, on all these prescription drugs. Oh, there's nothing you need to do to change your diet, ma'am. We're going to load you up with tons and tons of drugs. And if you don't take these drugs, you're going to be in trouble. That's fear. That's what the big pharma industry is all about. That's what big bank's all about. Big bank says, we can't get rid of the Federal Reserve. That's our cartel that makes us money. If you get rid of the Federal Reserve, wow, my goodness, it'll be a catastrophic change. It'll be bank runs on every corner. It'll be a panic. Remember all the panics we had before we colluded together and created a cartel system that would never fail our profits? Everything you see pushed by the losers in the old media, and they are losers because they are losing the battle of ideas, and that's why they have to revert to censorship. Remember, we know that it's very, very Orwellian and very, very fascistic to burn books and to ban books, right? We get that. But we have a media today and a Twitter and a Google and all these other joke websites that censor and destroy you for saying anything. If you speak out against a war, they censor you. If you say, hey, I don't want to go to Syria and start a war over there that will cost us lives and treasure we don't have, I don't want to tell other people how to run their lives. I'm not God. If you say that, you have losers on Twitter and Facebook and Google and so forth that will censor your words. We'll have Sergeant Dan McKnight on the program later today of BringOurTroopsHome.us. This is a man who had skin in the game. He went overseas and he saw how awful the forces were, how they had no mission, how they were all about just making money and coming up with an excuse like Catch-22 to stay there. And so, he spoke out against it as a veteran. And he tried to buy an ad on YouTube to promote his anti-war event, and YouTube prevented him from buying that ad. They prevented them from him even giving money to them because they don't want to promote peace. These are not bleeding hearts. See, Conservative Inc., which is the designated loser in the battle between left versus right, Conservative Inc. wants you to think, oh, they're just bleeding hearts on the corporate left. They're just bleeding hearts. They just care too much. That's their only problem. They just don't know how to add the numbers up quite right. No, that's a stupid caricature of what's really happening. If they're bleeding hearts, why are they censoring veterans from trying to tell people to stop bombing people overseas? What kind of a progressive wants perpetual empire? That is not a progressive. That is a reactionary, sorry excuse for a liberal or a leftist or a progressive. That is an imperialist. That is a fascist because they're censoring people's ability to express their opinion about a war, even at the point when they're trying to advertise and pay the Luddites at Google and YouTube to let them get their voice out just a few people more. But they have fear. Fear is their number one thing. Oh my goodness, if we get out of Syria, it'll be a terrible bloodbath. Remember, that's what they said about George W. Bush with his Iraq war. Oh, if we don't stop Saddam Hussein, who had nothing to do with 9/11, it could be, they kept using that word like suitcase bomb, suitcase nuke. Remember they used to use that? So their power is fear-driven. That is nothing liberal about that. There's nothing progressive about that. There's nothing social about that. None of their little labels that they've used to hardwire their branding into your mind have anything to do with the reality that they have to offer you, which is fear-driven narratives. Oh, we might need a new lockdown. We can't tell you, the liars in the media will say, we can't tell you what to do to change your diet to stay away from inflammation-driven foods, driving foods. They can't tell you to stay away from sugar and refined grains and massive amounts of fruit and massive amounts of wheat and other things, corn. They can't tell you to stop that. They can't tell you to stop linoleic acid, which is vegetable oils, which is cooked in all of your food when you go out to most restaurants. They can't tell you that those things drive inflammation and chronic illnesses, and that if we would go back to simpler eating, that would probably do a big help. I'm not saying that's a solution. I'm saying it provides you with a foundation to be able to handle a new virus without being in a terrible situation. But they can't tell you real solutions. They have to drive you towards fear. They have to funnel you like a cattle into a fear box. Well, you're going to have to lock down again. I saw the little sad people online were saying, oh, Big Gretch, they called her, I think, was that the word they used? Big Gretch? Because Gretchen, whatever, the governor of I really don't remember her last name. Wilson? Wilmer? What is it? But this person, she wants to have a lockdown again in Michigan. This is the kind of nanny state, fear-driven corporate fascism that people who are crooks with no good ideas thrive off of. I have power. I will stamp you out. And what that does is that drives up deaths. It drives up suffering. It drives up chronic illnesses because people stress eat. They don't get sleep. They don't get proper social life. They don't know anything. Gretchen doesn't know anything about what human beings need for emotions. She doesn't know anything about what they need for a normal social environment. She doesn't know what makes up your immune system. She doesn't know how you need to be exposed to a natural amount of viruses on a daily basis to keep your immune system strong. She won't tell you to stop eating linoleic acid. She won't tell you to stop eating canola oil. She won't tell you to stop eating cottonseed oil. She won't tell you to stop eating sludge and sugar and goop. No, because she's a muppet driven to drive you towards fear like a cattle, pushing you in, driving you towards wherever she wants. And she requires cowards and ignorant people for her to build that power of fear, to build that narrative of a groupthink, a herd mentality where people go right off the cliff or right into the slaughterhouse of their liberties, of their decency, of their humanity, of their life. Our life is not meant to be stuck in quarantine for decades like these dark winter Luddites like Biden has. We're not meant to live like that. We're not meant to live in fear, bathing in cortisol. We're not meant to live in that. And it's a Luddite frame of mind that allows that kind of fear mongering to be the order of the day. So it's up to us. No president's going to save you. For those of you who are hoping for Trump to get back in from these lawsuits and Dominion, you're hoping Dominion is exposed and all the minions fly around and out of the way in terms of being caught or whatever. Whatever it is, you're not going to have your solutions be accomplished by a political savior. It's going to be you taking charge of your life, putting down the canola oil. Look, I'm not here to lecture you about what's perfect health. I'm trying to show you, my friends, that when we have folks on this program, or if you want to go to the archive and look up a neighborschoice.com, search in our archive for all of our interviews with health-related guests, doctors of the finest quality, you can find that the things that are really causing chronic illnesses, which are the comorbidities, which causes people to have lethal cases of this new virus and all this other stuff, it's driven by the lying, fear-based media frenzy, always pushing us towards state power, always pushing us towards control of our minds, control of our hearts, control of our emotions. We will not accept that control. That control is not a place for grown adults. We do not want to live in a perpetual state of infancy. We refuse to live in corporate fascist world. We're not going to accept it. That's not happening. That is an old idea. It's trying to make a big bark. It'll have a few little flailings here and there to try to show that it's got some teeth. But at the end of the day, it's not based in reality. And truth always wins over fear. Perfect love casts out fear. Love is the antithesis to fear. The lemmings and their herd, sheep herders, right? They are based on fear, but love will beat fear always, because love looks for real solutions. Love says, hey, put down the Crisco, put down the canola oil, put down the pizza, and stop staying in the house all day like Governor Gretchen, whatever, wants you to do, because that's going to cause your immune system to go down. That's going to cause you to be prone to infections. That's going to cause you to have stress, and stress causes you to have a weakened immune system and have a hard time dealing with new viruses. Trust your body. Your body is sovereign. Your body was made by a creator that existed for way before any of these lemmings in political power in America or any other country ever existed. And your body is perfectly crafted, and no political solution is a better way to solve your body's needs from being protected from new viruses than understanding the immune system and rejecting their drive to push you towards fear and apathy and surrender. We will fight by standing for love. We'll be back with more on A Neighbor's Choice. Stay with us. More in just a second. David Granoski here. Let me tell you about a man named Gabriel. Every day, Gabriel puts on his boots and drives across America to make sure our store shelves stay stocked with the food people count on. See, Gabriel served our country overseas. He knows that America stands for freedom, quality, and caring for others the way we would like to be treated. That's why when Gabriel saw food shelves getting low during the pandemic, he hit the road as a driver with Oakley Transport. In the land of the free, where no one should go hungry, we need heroes like Gabriel to help keep America fed. CDLA driving professionals. Join Oakley Transport today. Keep America fed at oakleytransport.com or call them today at at 1-877-8-TANKER. That's 1-877-8-TANKER.
A lawsuit is not something that anyone looks forward to. It's a stressful process. There are attorneys in Tampa Bay that keep clients well informed, creating less stress. That law firm is Catania. Personal injury law is defended with full disclosure. There is no guessing game. If it's an auto accident, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, unsafe working conditions, or motorcycle accidents, the law firm of Catania will handle the process worry-free from start to finish. Many victims don't realize they have a claim for the loss until they talk to Catania. They only represent private individuals and treat every case as if it's going to trial. Putting families first is more than just a slogan. It's their way of practicing law. It's a commitment to you. Remember, they don't get paid if you don't get paid. So go to Catania.com. Over 28 years in practice. Catania, personal injury and motorcycle accident attorneys. Catania, putting families first.
Office Tampa. Not a church bookstore.
Are you ready to transform your career? Jess Smith was too. She was stuck in a job that was controlling her life, consuming her free time, and offering little opportunity for growing her pay. Then she found FinTech Mortgage Association, and she never looked back. FinTech Mortgage Association makes home lending simple, and they take care of home buyers like family. Using technology to make everyone's life easier, FinTech Mortgage Association equips each of their loan solutions architects with the tools they need to build a career with a schedule they control, a product they can take pride in, and an earning potential that is life-changing. Unleash your true potential. Join FinTech Mortgage Association. Visit finmay.com. That's FINMAE.com. You're in charge now. NMLS ID 1492187. Equal housing lender. A Neighbor's Choice returns. I'm David Gronowski, your host. We're soaring high across the Sunshine State on our FM and AM affiliate stations. If you're listening there, make sure you save it to this station, where this will be your broadcast home for all things A Neighbor's Choice. You'll get breaking news on politics, news, culture, the latest and greatest information in nutrition science. We are not owned by groupthink. We're not driven by politics. And because of that, we can go where no other program in the wheelhouse of politics and culture stays. They are always within a very narrow resolution. They have a very thin little framework that they will look at. It's red team, blue team, and that's it. That's all you get. You get that for years, decade after decade. And people, that was great for, when you're ready for elementary, that's fine. Then you got to graduate and get on with your life so that we can equip ourselves with information that actually matters. How are we going to build a society with a better education system? How are we going to build a society where we take charge of our health rather than hiding from life? That's what the fear party, which is the TV party, that's what they want. That's what, they call that the mean world syndrome. You ever heard of the mean world syndrome? The old term they used about what TV does to people. Mean world syndrome. Here's a Wikipedia page. I just pulled it up for people. Mean world syndrome is a hypothesized cognitive bias where people allegedly perceive the world to be more dangerous than it actually is, supposedly due to long-term moderate to heavy exposure to violence-related content on mass media. That's an old term they used. But you see a lot of that mean world syndrome in today's sterilized media environment, where they're always pushing a narrative. If Al Gore disputes an election, by golly, they're gonna stop the presses. Oh my goodness, this election's not over till Al Gore says it's over. That's what the media told you in 2000. I remember that. I was just a youngster back then, but I remember the madness, the melee, the stress that they were creating. Oh my goodness, this election's not over. We're going to count them, the hanging Chads, these Chads, those Chads, Chads. That's all they talked about. And they had Pat Buchanan and all this stuff down in South Florida. And boy, did the media have Al Gore's little back. They had that little lemmings back because they wanted his little globalist go along, get along policies. I guess they liked him better as a spokesperson for the status quo than they liked old George W. Bush. George W. Bush was supposed to be the villain. And boy, did he make a good villain. He was an evangelical. He pretended to be a Southerner from Texas, all this stuff. And boy, was that a classic archetype of a villain for the globalists who hate tradition. They hate family. They hate liberty. I don't know why. It's just because they're programmed with their groupthink. They just do what everybody else in their little circle does, which is rebel against decency, rebel against order, rebel against boundaries, rebel against love and self-sacrifice. That's what they're always pushing. Safe mediocrity. Safe mediocrity. You've heard of helicopter parents. They want helicopter government. Helicopter intrusive in your life, keeping you like a little cattle. Herd it along. When they tell you a war's good, you say, yes, sir. Now you're not allowed to say, sir. You got to say zim or zher, a z, a z. They like to say stupid stuff and get you to regurgitate it. They say stupid stuff. They're like, watch this little monkey see, monkey do thing. I'll make the masses say zim or z as a pronoun. Watch how dumb these people are. And they go and do it. Then they all laugh at people who get along with this stuff. Because who are these clowns? Look at these guys. We told them to get rid of their pronouns, he and she, get rid of that and just say zim or z. And watch them. Watch. Here comes the lemmings. Zim or z. I'm a zim or z. I'm a zim or z. Ooh, I'm going to make up a word. XHIEZY. That means I'm very kind. I'll still vote for Joe Biden to bomb the hell out of the whole world, but I'll say zim or z, and that'll make me socially just. That's how stupid. And they laugh at people. They laugh at these people that they get them into this stuff. Look at these idiots. That's what the people who push these stupid ideas are doing. These rich, decadent, making six figures or more, they laugh all the way to the bank. Now, some of them believe it because they're not, they believe their own BS. If you lie long enough, you can believe in your own snake oil or you can believe in your own garbage. But their whole thing is driven by fear. And love conquers and defeats and destroys fear. Fear is the opposite of love. They don't like love. Love means saying, hey, Governor whatever is not going to save you from a virus. But love tells me to say, put down the margarine. It's toxic sludge. But the liberal mind, these folks who worship government, they can't see that. All they can see is, wait, I worship government. Government, as long as it's representing nanny state values, cannot do anything wrong. Government only wants to save us. So therefore, if government pushes toxic vegetable oil sludge, I can't say that that's killing people because then they will distrust in government. And I like to worship government. That's what their mind thinks. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Ronald Reagan would turn over in his grave if he saw what's going on today.
Crazy things are happening.
You cannot be afraid. You've got to stand up for what you believe is right.
But one thing is for sure.
You can't trust anybody.
For talk, news, and information, you can count on us.
Enough is enough. I almost blew a gasket.
Good for the country.
I know what I'm talking about. A lot of wackos out there.
Your connection to talk about it. The all-new News Talk 1040, WHPO.
If we have to wait until January 20th to start that planning, it puts us behind over a month and a half.
This as a second COVID vaccine announced by Moderna Therapeutics tested nearly 95% effective. Moderna to apply for an emergency FDA okay to crank out tens of millions of doses by year's end. The past hour, California Governor Gavin Newsom announcing he's hitting the emergency brake on reopening 41 counties.
Daily cases, though, in the state of California have doubled just in the last 10 days. This is simply the fastest increase California has seen since the beginning of this pandemic.
Close to 90,000 sexual abuse claims have been filed against the Boy Scouts by today's deadline and the organization's bankruptcy. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
So we have to deal with the narrative that's true. It's fear versus love. Love comes with freedom. Love comes with tolerance. Fear is all about trying to stoke unnatural things or more baser things. Fear needs envy. Fear needs prejudice, tribalism. They're trying to get people to see everything through race now. That's what the corporate press wants you to do. Everything's got to be through race or gender. It can't be about respecting human dignity, no matter who the person is, no matter what their background. No. They have to put everything through a prism of race and gender wars and all this stuff, because that's a convenient way to keep people divided. If people unite around empathy about human personhood, then they're united for their liberty. They're united in courage, because if you're thinking about personhood, guess what? It takes individual persons doing great things and standing up for the truth for courage to thrive, for innovation to happen. And so if you diminish people's personhood by getting everybody to see things through a prism of tribalism, you are this group, so therefore you're inherently problematic. That's the garbage that comes from these clowns, these people that are pushing corporate fascism and racism, and there's nothing to it. It's the dumbest argument you've ever heard. There's no argumentation to it. They even want to say it's racist to say logic. If you say logic, that's supremacy now. I mean, the dumbest stuff you've ever heard. Meanwhile, on this program, we focus on human personhood, which means we champion people getting out of prison for nonviolent crimes. We champion getting rid of the regulations that are there in the first place that trap people in these never-ending cycles of nanny state abuse, right? So because we focus on the personhood principle, guess what? People of all backgrounds are able to have justice. When we work on programs, we have folks calling in from prison for nonviolent crimes of all gender, all race, all background, all religion. And we give them a voice because we care about personhood. See the difference between us and what you hear from the corporate press? Corporate press only cares about, oh, there's a shooting. Does it help us drive a wedge against race or gender? How can we use this to drive our little narrative of violence and state power? Whereas we're saying, no, let's use human personhood as a principle. It's common sense. You don't hurt people. You don't try to steal their stuff. You don't try to destroy. You don't try to, enact vengeance against somebody because of petty grievances or real grievances. You don't use vengeance, and you don't use envy. But we have politicians who want to drive us towards a baser way of thinking about things, a lower resolution way of thinking about things. And that's just not going to fly. It's not going to work. It's not going to get things done that we need to have done. So I think we have a clip here from the Prime Minister of Canada. Let's hear it.
It's ready to go.
Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
So that was Trudeau sounding like a really weird Orwellian Muppet, like I guess these folks always do. I've never even heard much of anything from him audibly, so I didn't know that's how bleak the man sounded. But he's talking about we're going to address extreme poverty, equality, and did he talk about climate change in there? So you have climate change extreme poverty and equality, right? We got to deal with equality. They use the word inequity now or something, right? That's their new equity thing because they think that's like, oh, this is better. This is like double equality. Oh, this is real special. They try to use these little gimmick words to try to act like they've got something sophisticated to say. They have nothing to say. So extreme poverty. So he's saying, let's use the pandemic and locking everybody down like a bunch of wussies that we can't. Now look, let me be very clear. They did the opposite. They shoved people with coronavirus into nursing homes. That's the opposite policy of anybody with a brain and science would do. Okay, the left-wing nut corporate fascists, they were shoving people with the virus into nursing homes, just shoving them in there. Stupid as can be. So that's the opposite policy. They did the Luddite policy. They locked down young people and they exposed vulnerable people. People, by the way, who are so vulnerable because they ate decades and decades of government nutrition, government subsidized nutrition for vegetable oils, for sugar, which is what causes the comorbidities to make a lethal case of this virus more likely. So put that first. The state failed those people in the elderly years. They failed them for decades with lies pushed by special interests, pretending to be, oh, we're caring. We just want you to eat corn syrup. Here, another spoon of corn syrup. Here, another spoon of corn syrup. Oh, there's a virus. Oh, my goodness. The only thing that can save you, your body can't save you. You're full of corn syrup that we've subsidized with our governments. You're full of grains and oats like a horse. You're not going to have the proper nutrition. You never had a ribeye. You're told never to eat a ribeye. They want to tax ribeyes. They want to tax ancestral eating. Can you imagine? Ancient man, Grok, walking around. They want to tax Grok from eating mastodon. If he eats a woolly mammoth, my God, he's going to get taxed and put in a cage. These people are nanny state Luddites. They don't know anything about science. But he wants to talk about extreme poverty, huh? The lockdown somehow allows him to address extreme poverty. No, it manifested extreme poverty. Millions of people in underdeveloped regions of the world who have been predated by globalists and their NGOs and their World Health and World Trade and all these lemming groups of sycophants, corporate fascists. People in third world countries, people in developing countries, they have been really hurt hard by these lockdowns because when these rich countries in the West lock down their economies, that puts a huge hit to countries where people live day to day with enough money to get by through the day. So do you see what they're lying? They're liars. They're saying, oh, with this pandemic that we forced a lockdown from, now we can address extreme poverty. No, you have manifested extreme poverty, you liar. They also say, what was the other word? Extreme poverty, climate change. This clown doesn't know the first thing about how to deal with pollution. If you explain to him low temperature nuclear energy, as we've done on this program, Trudeau would give you a deer in a headlight look. He doesn't know a thing about it. He's a clown. He's there to sell you on fake green energy solutions that are not affordable for the average person. So what does that mean? He wants to allow government to come in and subsidize giant corporations who will provide ineffective fake green energy solutions like wind farms and solar panels. So he doesn't want to deal with climate change. He doesn't want to deal with pollution. He doesn't want to deal with helping the poor. He is exacerbating the problem of the poor. He's making their life more miserable because when you lock down first world countries, third world countries plummet into death and to depression and to huge capital destruction. This is not acceptable. The other point is he talks about equality. So equality is this word you hear a lot about. And I want you to understand this equality point. And I'm not going to go too far in this episode to explore how this desire for equality really works, but I'll give a little bit of a foundation for now. Equality is a good thing in some ways. You know, equality is a vacuous term, but the way politicians mean equality is another word for envy. Equality is like a word for the grass is greener on the other side. It appeals to people's feelings that, well, if I could just have what those people have, then I'll be good. Equality is another word in political speak for covetousness, the feeling of desire, the feeling of envy, the feeling that you lack something. Now, this is an illusion because we all know that the grass is not greener on the other side, that we can come up with a million reasons to say, well, my life's great and I'm awesome or whatever. But if I just had that person's car or zip code or house size or whatever, family or kids or whatever, I want to have kids and I don't have kids, so therefore they have kids. Therefore, if I have kids like they do, I'll be fine. Or maybe it's I'm single and if I could get married, then I'll be fine. Or maybe it's, hey, I'll be fine as soon as I get that job or as soon as I lose this job and switch careers and become like that person's career. All of those things are really at the heart of equality, this idea of equality. I want to be one with that person. I want to have parity with that person. But the problem with that is that it's based on an illusion. It's, I'm going to use this way to explain it. It's like a magnetic pole. You have a magnetic pole. Your mind has a desire. You say, if I can just have what they have, if I can be equal in stature or status as that person, then I'll be good. I'll be content. I'll be great. And so it's like your mind's desire is like a pole, a magnetic pole, and it's attracting you towards what you perceive to be an opposite pole. So if you have just use these terms in a simple way, if you have a negative pole, negative is attracted to positive pole, right? So you say, I'm deficient in something. It's a negative. I'm deficient. I need more money. I need a better job. I need a better place to live. I need a better, mindset. I got to have a better skill set. I got to get a certificate. I got to get a degree. I got to get a PhD. I got to get something, right? So if I have a negative pull in my mind, I will be attracted to opposite, positive. Look, they have what I'm missing. They have what I'm missing. I'm attracted to that. It's opposite. I want, so just like magnets, when you get them close, whoa, they want to stick together. They want to be drawn together. So all of a sudden, it draws you towards the person that you're desiring to be like. But here's the thing about our minds and our hearts and our emotions, which drives this concept of equality underneath, is that unlike a magnet where it's kind of a fixed polarity situation, at least, most of the time, this is how we think of magnets, right? They're negative, positive, they attract. But because desire is kind of subjectively interpreted, as you become closer to the person you want to be like, you start noticing, well, they're not exactly as great as I thought they were. Or whatever they have that you are trying to get now is not quite as cool and satisfying and content, in the way it makes you feel as you thought it would be. And so as you draw closer, now what was attracting to you, now you see it feels as if it's too close. But wait a second, this is not exactly what I had in mind. And so you start to be repulsed by it. Now it's as if you have the same pole. Now it's as if you have two negatives. So from afar, what looked like an opposite pole, you were negative, your magnetic pole's negative, their magnetic pole perceives to be positive. They have the car, they have the job, they have the social status, they have the friend set, they have the zip code, whatever the Joneses have, they have it and you want it. And as you're trying to get that equality, it feels as if you're farther apart. It feels like you're being pushed away. This is not what I wanted. These Joneses are not as cool as I thought they were. This car is not as worth it as I thought it would be. This house, this bigger house, is not as cool and satisfying as I thought it would be. Or this friend set, they're not as cool and edgy as I thought they would be. I can see the warts and flaws now, right? And so now you're pulled away from it. You're repelled by it. Ugh, it's gross. And that's where you start to be repulsed. And now you're pulling away. You're pulling away. And that repulsion pulls you apart. But then at the same time, as you grow in distance, you're still kind of fascinated by the person who seems to have what you have, but just a little bit better. And so you're attracted back towards it. It's kind of like a push-pull. And that's what's going on worldwide and socially when we have these desires for things like equality. It's like drinking ocean water to quench your thirst. It won't do it. It looks like it's what you need, but if you drink it, it will not, unless you take it through, treatments, desalinization, it will not quench your thirst. It will get you sick. But if you're maddened by desire, if you're maddened to be equal to somebody else, it will drive you to try to do things to beat that person or to overcome their status. And as they see you giving them signals of competition, they'll push back against you and try to signal that they don't have nothing to do with you and they don't like you, or you're bad, or you're a bad person, or you're not cool, or whatever it is. And therefore you have this push-pull dynamic. It's like a magnetic push-pull. Attracted, repulsed. Attracted, repulsed. Attracted, repulsed. This is creating, if you can imagine, friction. Objects colliding and bouncing apart. This is causing friction. This is causing conflict. This is going to cause social friction and breakdown of social standards, of decency, of strong structures like marriage, like property rights, like contract rights, like individual liberty, like honest courts, like honest money. All those things get degraded when we get obsessed with what we call equality and what is in reality a magnetic illusion. I'm David Gronowski. You're listening to A Neighbor's Choice. When we continue, we'll unpack this more. We'll look at some headlines, perhaps. We're live. It's A Neighbor's Choice. What else is going to happen but electrifying deconstruction of fake news and mythology in our time today? That's what you've come for. I'm David Gronowski. Email me hello@aneighborschoice.com. Back in a moment. Who is your neighbor? Dave and Wally are team drivers for Oakley Transport. One day, they came across a very serious accident on the highway. Some might pass on by, but Dave and Wally saw there was no time to waste. They jumped into action and saved 2 people's lives with moments to spare. That's the kind of courageous love we need more of today. It reflects the respected culture Oakley Transport develops with their driving professionals. CDLA licensed drivers. Join Oakley Transport today for a rewarding career. Visit oakleytransport.com. That's oakleytransport.com. Are you ready to transform your career? Jess Smith was too. She was stuck in a job that was controlling her life, consuming her free time, and offering little opportunity for growing her pay. Then she found FinTech Mortgage Association, and she never looked back. FinTech Mortgage Association makes home lending simple, and they take care of home buyers like family. Using technology to make everyone's life easier, FinTech Mortgage Association equips each of their loan solutions architects with the tools they need to build a career with a schedule they control, a product they can take pride in, and an earning potential that is life-changing. Unleash your true potential. Join FinTech Mortgage Association. Visit finmay.com. That's FINMAE.com. You're in charge now. NMLS ID 1492187. Equal housing lender.
Not ready to go to your favorite seafood restaurant? Get the highest quality fish for less delivered straight to your door by Fast Fresh Seafood. Order our fresh hog snapper, grouper, mahi, and more. They're boneless, skinless, flash frozen the same day, and individually vacuum wrapped. Pick the size filet you want, the amount you want, and checkout's easy at fastfreshseafood.com. The best thing, every fish is on sale. FastFreshSeafood.com. Caught fresh for you, delivered straight to you. Stay home and stay safe.
Hello, this is David Gronowski with A Neighbor's Choice. I've got a mission for you. I'm a big believer in eating family farm-raised, high-quality grass-fed beef. That's why I'm a frequent customer of White Oak Pasture, a 6th-generation beautiful farm in southwest Georgia. Support sustainable, delicious meat of the highest quality. Ask for White Oak Pasture's beef at your local grocery here in Florida, or go to whiteoakpastures.com, and first-time customers get 20% off on purchases with our exclusive coupon code NEIGHBOR. Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gronowski, your host. Happy to have you on FM or AM or podcast or our video stream. But remember, our headquarters for our content is on aneighborschoice.com. That's the letter A, neighborschoice.com. You can email me hello@aneighborschoice.com if you have a guest suggestion or a recommendation for a topic. Always enjoy hearing interaction from you all. And wow, our podcast side of things is surging just as good as radio. Our podcast downloads continue to just go through the roof. And we love seeing the international audience. So if you're listening from another country, give us an email. We like hearing your questions. I had an email from someone from France with a really nice question, asking all kinds of interesting questions about how to apply the principles that we explore on the news for their own personal life, how to take care of different things. And right now, we're talking about the illusion that drives this search for equality that politicians prey on. It is a magnetic illusion. It draws you to the other person. If I can be equal in my healthcare policy, if I can be equal, and now the word is revenge. Now the word is inequity, which means not just that you're equal, but that you have a little bit more so that you can have revenge on their ancestors or some stupid thing. This is nothing sophisticated. This is not interesting. This is good old-fashioned pagan human sacrifice and ritual in which you try to pit people against each other about envy. Oh, well, your ancestors many long time ago, many generations ago, were hateful to my ancestors, and therefore we have a blood feud going. That's the old way of doing things around the world for all cultures. Ancient, go to any, people always say, oh, the magic best ideas were from the West or something. No, it was Christianity. It was Christianity that brought unique ideas to the West. It was not something special about the West. It was Christianity that gave unique insights. And Christianity was in the Middle East and in Africa and Asia too. But for whatever reason, it stuck and caught on a little, it stayed without being stamped out a little bit more continuously in parts of Europe for some time. And how interesting it is to think about that effect that it had on cultures like where Germany is now, or Sweden, all these places running around, and they were trying to deal with the problem of envy. So they had different hierarchies, they had different statures where everybody's supposed to stay, different places, different stations, different roles, and different strict obligations for not allowing to break certain taboos. And if you broke those boundaries, you could be punished severely. You could be sacrificed for preserving the common good. Those things are now different. Now we have an American dream where people can start from nothing and get somewhere. Of course it's rigged. Of course it's rigged by regulations written for corporate fascists. That is, corporate profits for a few, communist scraps for the rest of us. But this system of trying to stoke these generational feuds about gender. Well, there was the witch trials. Women were accused of witchcraft. Therefore, now we have to create content in 2020 where we're going to demean and discourage and denigrate and mock father characters in every piece of media. What? Revenge? You're going to try to put revenge into culture? That doesn't do anything. Just because someone was treated badly in this case in history doesn't mean that you get to have revenge and try to disparage young kids. Imagine what that does to a young boy or a little kid, toddler, where every male character is getting torn apart and beaten by, every female character that's half their size. It's like cheat code, the cheat codes are going. And so what? You can always say that there's a strong female that can beat up a male and some outlier. But generally speaking, you're creating this false reality to try to get revenge, this word of equity. We got to get revenge. We can't just say, hey, let's be equal. Let's treat people fair. Now it's got to be revenge. It has to be a +1 and a -1. And that's a win-lose, zero-sum Luddite way of thinking about society. That doesn't recognize That's not how you solve problems. That's a fear-driven thing. That's the idea that if we allow differences to be obviously recognized, differences of gender, differences of whatever talents and skills people have. Some people are taller, some people are shorter, some people have intelligent, mathematical ability. Some people are better gifted in engineering, or some people are musical geniuses. There's all kinds of differentiation. But when you want to stoke envy, you have to drive the notion that if we allow differences, well, that will create this fear that people will be hurt or people will not get exactly what everybody else has. But what's really now is they want to beat what the other person has. This is an illusion. This is fake. This is drinking salt water to quench your thirst. And politicians like Trudeau and all these other they're all empty suits. They have no unique ideas. All they're there to do is be PR spokespeople for already established ideas. And that is, they're trying to imitate Christianity. They're trying to imitate Christianity and create a new religion in which the victim is honored through sacrifice in the name of victims. So more victims will be created, but we'll try to rectify other victims' grievances by victimizing new people. But in reality, everybody is victimized in that scenario. Everybody gets victimized in that scenario. That's the reality. Because you cannot stoke envy and have anything satisfying as a result. Envy is an illusion. Envy is a mirage. Envy does not satisfy. Equality is an illusion. You can never say, well, if I get their car and get that job and get that better zip code and get that better picture perfect white picket fence or whatever it is now, if I say all the perfect pronouns, if I say all the perfect social justice words, if I do everything exactly like the cool people, so-called cool people tell me to do, then I'll be satisfied. Then I'll feel just, or I'll feel awakened, and I'll feel content, and I'll have happiness. No. The more you strive for that oneness with your neighbor, the more you covet what your neighbor has, the more it will not satisfy. When you get closer and closer, it will repel you the closer you get to it. It will repel you the closer you get to it. It will drive you away, and then it'll draw you back. It'll drive you away, and then it'll draw you back. That's the magnetic illusion of envy, of desire. And that's what politicians are stoking. They're saying, oh, look, he had 2 scoops of ice cream. You need 2 scoops of ice cream. No, you don't need 2 scoops of ice cream. It's made with garbage. It's got guar gum in it. You don't need 2 scoops of ice cream. Why don't you have a ribeye? No, you're not allowed to have ribeye because ribeyes, the cool people say you got to eat plant goop. So you got to catch up to be like them. Then you eat that goop and you get sick as can be. See, they never give you anything tangible. They never give you anything about gratitude. They never let you feel like you're safe and you're secure, you're okay, you're good, your gratitude is complete, you're good. They always want to stoke more and more and more. And that's never going to work. Stoking envy, stoking a desire to be one with your neighbor, not
Your
going to
home
work.
for news, talk,